Alright, so welcome back. In today's video, I've got something somewhat new that hasn't been on the channel yet. This Mantua F7 that I got yesterday. This was on the free table of the club that I go to, and if I didn't take it, it was just going to end up in the trash, so I decided, why not? So we have this now. The main issue with this, however, is that, well, the couplers are broken, and there's no weight. But if you saw my recent video on how I like to tune rolling stock, I've got a bunch of these weights. So I think after we get this thing worked on, and also of note, since this is a Mantua, there's some things I can't do. I'll get to that after this little bit. I'm going to try and use enough weights to replicate one of these out of my slightly different style Mantua F7, just to get it somewhat close to the ballpark of what I need. So I'm going to be using at least this much weight in the thing. I might have another, like, half a strip or something, but I'm going to be adding weight to it during this video. And the thing with these Mantua drives is I can't really go all that in-depth. Like, this truck, I can't really get out more than this, so I can really just give it oil and clean off the wheels. And this one I can't actually pull out, but I can't really get into the gearbox or anything, so I'm just going to end up flushing this out with rubbing alcohol, and also just cleaning off the commutator and giving it some oil where I can. So, with that out of the way, I want to find out how this thing runs. I've tried it a little bit, and I got a tiny bit of something, but I didn't want to do anything more than that, just for this one video. So, we will go find out now how it runs. Alright, so I will show you what it does, and I'll find out for myself, I guess, as well. And nothing. Oh, there. It's quite noisy. Just off camera, it stalled with the light like this. Okay, let's try changing the direction. Weird. It was just working, so I guess now we actually have to fix it and not just make it run right. Alright, so I think now I can just about get to work on this thing. So I'm just gonna, and I think I can do this by hand since there's no weight there. I'm just gonna pull out this rear truck and attempt to do so without breaking any wiring or anything. So there. I think I've got that mostly out fine. Now I'm going to have this big weight in my way. But what I'm going to do now is just, I'm going to flip this on its side. And with my controller here, test if I can get the motor to turn back over. I can't see, sorry. I'm just trying to actually see if it works. So apparently not. I might need to, I'm thinking about, actually, I've heard this for some MU2 engines, is that you can break off these side things and pull off one of these plastic wheels just to be able to get into the engine. So some people might yell at me for it, but I've been told that that's the best way to actually get into these. So I'm going to see about doing that if I can't find another better way to get into here. So if I come back and the truck cover's broken off, oh well, I'm just going to glue it back on later. So there, if you can tell, I've got the truck cover just ripped off. So now what I've got to do is just pry one of these wheels off. And before anyone, again, yells at me, I will re-gauge it later. I'm going to need to do this for both sides, just because I'm going to need both trucks. And then I think I've got to get this brush out of the way. And that'll allow me to get mostly to work on this engine. There we go. I don't immediately see anything wrong. First off, I'm going to go and get into this commutator with some rubbing alcohol. My main goal is to just get this motor working. I think I'm going to go at this with my fiberglass pencil now. See if I can get this cleaned up just a little bit. If you couldn't tell, these specific engines are just a little bit annoying to work on. I think I'll try cleaning up this brush. Now the annoying part, I've got to get this brush back in. There, now now since I've just got axles, I think I can actually more easily lay this motor on its side and test it. Which still does not seem to work. So I'm going to try and figure out what's going on and then get back to this. Okay, so I actually got the motor working, which is quite good. And I also sort of went in and just put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in the system since you can't really clean this out. So now I'm just going to attempt to oil it. I really do need to get these actual bearings for the motor here. So I'm going to try my best to get to them. Actually, I think these little holes down here are supposed to aid you in doing that or something similar. So I'm going to try just using these holes to add the oil I need. And I think I am just going to add some oil into the gearbox. There's really not much more I can do than that. I think while I'm here, I'm going to get these little axles a tiny bit of oil. Yeah, there's really not much I can do in here. Now I've just got to press these wheels back on. I think what I'm going to do now is just try and fit this back in place and go give it a test run. See if it works. There. I'll get it fully back in off camera, and then after we test it, if I can, I'll re-glue this back on. Okay, so off camera, all I've done is installed a new front horn hook, oiled up the front truck, which doesn't really have anything to it. Just basically clean the wheels, and I think that's it. As well as, if I didn't mention it, reattach the side truck cover, because I tested it and it seems to work well. Need to clean the wheels a little bit better still, but does indeed run. So now we can go into the more fun part, adding weight. Alright, so I've got the engine back apart for this step, and I plan to use all of these weights. I've already cut this one up. I had plans, but I didn't realize they wouldn't fit through here, so I'm doing 4 on this end, and I'm going to do 1 just in front of that. So, I'm going to use all of these just to start, and then I'm going to do some tests. So, now I'm going to just stop talking and put in these weights. Alright, so I've added some weight. I know this looks a little bit janky, but eventually I would like to try 3D printing and get, design a fuel tank for this thing and print it out, just to fill that gap. But for now, I'm just going to have to leave it like this. It doesn't look too terrible unless you flip the thing over. I think it's got ample weight in it now. I still need to check on my scale to see if it's fairly close to what the weight would have been. So I'm just going to check that and come back, and then maybe we will tackle this rear coupler. Alright, so I've added weight, and I've been testing this thing out for a little while. I don't really need to show you because the performance isn't any different at all. I've been testing it out with these high-level coaches, which I will talk about in a future video, and it just runs great. So, thanks for watching, and go check out another video.